Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know it's a Massacre Monday, but it's also Patchnotes 8.3 day. So today we find out exactly what all is coming down the pipe for tomorrow when the season resets and a long awaited fix has come. If you're like me, you love Gwent, but you have not loved the last couple seasons. I know the hack set everything back for CDPR, but it's been pretty sad. Wait times between games have been eternal. People have been trying out all kinds of other games on my Discord server. But let's jump right into it, talk about this. Subscribe to see more content. There's going to be a lot of decks coming your way this next week. We're going to kind of do some fun themes for International Women's Day today. We're going to do an all-women deck. We're going to try to bring in Gontro Dim, Master Mirror as per requests. And if you have other requests you want to see, either from these new cards or some other random old card that's laid around in your inventory gathering dust, post that up in the comments below. I want to see it. But let's jump right into this. So what we have now are 12 new cards. And this was kind of what was promised to us a while ago, that they would be rolling out new cards as part of the previous expansion. So this one would be Way of the Witcher. So I assume this is all going to go into Way of the Witcher kegs. But you can just buy the cards for scraps outright. And that way they have kind of these rolling expansions where we're constantly getting a few new cards. The expansions themselves on release won't be as big, but we will have these to look forward to. So that's pretty good. They also announced if you didn't see it, leaked from bruxa from his last week, this week in Gwent, or rather for us, last week in Gwent. They showed how they're anticipating rolling out some new cards every couple of months and on a regular cadence with playoffs, etc., etc. So check that out. Worth checking into if you're really looking forward to exactly when they're going to release stuff. But as for me, I'll just be kind of going from season to season, giving you guys updates as soon as these things come out. So you can just subscribe to this channel and you'll get all that info. So there's a bunch of changed abilities. There's some reworks. Most importantly, for those who playing on ladder who felt just abused from playing against Lockdown over and over again, they needed some love. And then their warrior tag has been changed a bit. Vampires have been boosted. And otherwise, some just cool general cards from the lore that are coming in to make a really big impact on games. So starting, first change, neutral, only one neutral change here, but Vesemir Mentor Adrenaline changed from 5 to 4. No other difference there, just basically trying to get you to commit to a longer round. I think the idea here was to try to nerf Northern Realms Witchers. For me, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. There still is going to be a bit of a hole, as most of the other Griffin Witchers like Adrenaline 4. But that deck is such patient play with Veil on the Griffin Witchers being able to proc that extra damage once you get down to Adrenaline 3 anyway, that I don't see this as a big impact personally. But we will see. Also, I think if you want to get this kind of line crossing commitment to Adrenaline 4, it really should be Adrenaline 3, because you want to have played your fourth card in hand, no longer allowing you to just dry pass all the way to round 3. But, we are where we are. Anyway, in my opinion, no change there. I do wish they would have changed the trio from 4 to 5. That way you could play them first and then play Vesemir Mentor. Kind of better synergy there. And the trio is cool, but hasn't gotten a ton of love. It's probably the worst tutor tempo package against Clog. So because it only selects those specific cards to go on either side. So if you have one of those cards copied, you're kind of out of luck. But monsters and vampires getting some huge love here. So Detlef von Aratrean with awesome card work, artwork, coming kind of leading this out up top. You see this as the picture for 8.3, but he's going to have 6 power, 11 provisions. He gets vampire category. On deploy, he spawns Blood Moon on enemy row for 1 turn. You increase the duration by 1 for every adjacent vampire, so you can only be next to 2 cards, so maximum of 3. So I think the goal here will be to get Blood Moon for 3 turns. Then order, damage an enemy unit with bleeding by 1. Death Glow, spawn an Ekimara on this row. Cooldown 1. So every turn, if you can get an enemy unit down to 1 value that has bleed, so it's going to die anyway, you can kill it and get a 3-point Ekimara. Remember, Ekimaras just got reworked this last season, so they're now 3 points instead of just 2. So you do get some really good ROI there, return on investment. For those of you unfamiliar with business lingo. Anyway, it's a really cool card. Happy to see that. And then there are some benefits to kind of dumping a whole bunch of bleed. We're going to see in a bit. Even if you're going kind of like overshooting that bleed and killing that unit off, you still get some value. New card, Unseen Elder, power 5, provision 13, category vampire. The beginning part of this card is kind of meaningless in my opinion. It's meh. Deploy, give bleeding 4 to an enemy unit. At the end of your turn, give bleeding 2 to a random enemy unit without bleeding. That's pretty cool. You're going to be spreading a lot of bleeds, but it's not the biggest deal in the book, in my opinion. With the leader, you're able to get that anyway, and this is kind of a finisher card. But if you're running Devotion, at the end of your turn, also trigger bleeding on enemy units. I'm personally very happy to see in these new cards more dedication to Devotion. I think it's going to make for a better balance, a more fun meta, and really be interactive and fun to play with. Then finally, Caraspis. Veil status will now only be granted if the target is a monster unit. So this shouldn't be underneath Unseen Elder. I'm not 100% sure why this was under here, but it is a change to the leader ability, Caraspis. So you can't give Veil to Ciri Dash, preventing lock on her. So locks have a little bit more value against those monsters, Caraspis, Kelly decks. Anyway, but this Devotion at the end of your turn also trigger bleeding on enemy units. I think is going to be huge. So basically, bleeding units will take damage at the end of your turn and at the end of the opponent's turn. So tons of damage value there. Alp, ability change to deploy, give an enemy 3 bleeding. Order, give an enemy 3 bleeding. And then Alp is a 5 provision card. I think she plays for 3 points. So not a ton of value onto the board, but you do get this 6 points of bleeding in 2 separate procs. Then Flater, this card was destroy an allied unit and give self vitality for 4 turns. Now, whenever an enemy unit receives bleeding, gain vitality with the same duration. There was a joke on stream that this is really only gets a ton of value in mirror matches because he might be taking some bleeding and then reversing that. But otherwise, you're going to get like 24 vitality on Deflator and no way to actually kind of use that. It might be cool, in my opinion, to see a card that converts vitality into boosts immediately. That could be a cool synergy card with Flater. You could make it a neutral card, so it works well with Harmony. With Nature's Gift, Scoia'tael, and then also with Northern Realms, Shawnee is a good example. Protoflater, ability change to deploy, give an enemy unit bleeding 3, then boost self by the amount of bleeding on that unit. Way better than Dominance Drain. The Dominance Drain was always like a 9 value for 8 provisions. It's kind of very mediocre, but this way you can dump all leader charges plus the base bleed here, get up to 12 bleed, and then boost self by that 12 points of bleed. And this is boost. They calculated this incorrectly on stream because there are 3 leader charges, each give 3 bleed, so you can get really good value out of that. And then you also from this can get some really good synergy here from like Unseen Elder giving that 4 bleeding. Oriana also really great, being able to give bleed, huge stacks of bleed. So anyway, worth looking into. Could get a ton of value there. Skellige, new card, Crack on Crate. Glad to see him. Not sure why Crack is getting the pirate tag. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but cool, whatever. It's good to see pirates getting a little bit more love. Holger Blackhand is kind of like the lead card for them, and he's kind of mediocre. But deploy, give 2 armor to 3 ships, 3 pirates or ships in your hand. So cool to get this 2 armor. And whenever you play a pirate or ship next to Croc, damage it and the lowest power enemy unit by each other's power. So the idea here is like Terror Axe Crew Wielder, they do 2 damage, and then when they have the armor stripped off of them, they do another 2 damage. So you're getting multiple damage procs. And then he has 7 power with 10 provisions, so you get some cool value out of him. Iced is like my personal favorite lore character from Skellige anyway, and his card is super cool. Power 3, provision 11, human warrior, so he's playing into the warrior role more. Even though I kind of in my mind see Iced as more of the pirate and Croc is more of the warrior. It is what it is. Anyway, he's veteran, so he's going to go up to 5 round 3. Then deploy Bloodthirst 2, so he does have a Bloodthirst trigger here. Easy to get with Patchnotes Fury, even if you have Harald on Crate down, and he kills one of the Harpies accidentally. You're still going to get Bloodthirst 2. Then you draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you discard a Skellige unit during your turn, summon it from your graveyard to this row. So crazy good value, counter to Devotion. Also works whenever a Skellige unit enters your graveyard during your turn. Whenever you discard a Skellige unit during your turn, summon it from your graveyard to this row. And then this, whenever a Skellige unit enters your graveyard during your turn, works for, one cool way I would think you could use this is Elf and Onion Soup, but you can't really use that with Devotion anyway. So I'm not really 100% sure what they had in mind with this Devotion counter, because whenever you're using like Lippy, for an example, Lippy is going to discard those units and then put them to a random row. The counter is 2, and it'll be interesting to see how this kind of deals with the counter. Will it just go random? Will it be top to bottom? Just something to kind of keep in mind there. But it is going to, summon these 2 units to the row that he is on. So you could put him like to ranged and then discard like 2 on-crate longships. Drummond light longships that can do the damage on range, or you can put them on melee and get those on crate longships. Those are 2 examples. You could also do Torsic Invader, where she goes up to 7, so just 14 points of value. You could discard 2 with Birna Brand there, and you no longer have to hold Birna for those Torsic Skirmishers. But Clan Torsic coming in here for good synergy with Iced makes sense. And then, so anyway, pretty cool here. Ursine Ritual, Provision Chain from 17 to 16, fine. There's an anomaly making overwhelming majority of skeletal leader ability, blah, blah, blah. I agree with this, but I think the Blue Boy Lugos makes a problem here. I would have liked to see, the Bear Abomination maybe changed a little bit. That might have been a better way to kind of work this value, change from 6 to 5 or something like that. But this works. Morgvarg Heart of Terror, removed warrior category. Never really quite made sense why Morgvarg Heart of Terror had warrior. Much better synergy with pirates here, and makes more sense for him to just have pirate, no longer Hot Varg, as people are calling him. Tyrax Wielder no longer has warrior, just pirate. Dimoon Smuggler is a cool bronze fix, so power change from 4 to 3, then provisions from 4 to 5. Ability change to, if you play next to a ship, spawn a base copy of self on this row. Order damage a unit by 1. So you get 8 for 5 here, because you get 6 points of pirates with 1 damage orders each. So cool way to kind of set up some damage value for greatswords or for dagger. We'll just have to see. But you don't get pirate synergy with them, so it'll be interesting to see how else you set that up. The Bloodthirst could also be good from this. Then Damoon Warship, power change from 3 to 4. Provision change from 5 to 4. Ability change to whenever you play a pirate. This was the Moon Warship, for those of you unfamiliar, was the one that would do 3 damages, 3 damage procs. So go bing, 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 3 instances of damage. Worked well with warrior, specifically great swords, and dagger was kind of mediocre otherwise. But whenever you play a pirate, damage self and a random enemy unit by 1. Death Wish, summon a random bronze pirate from your graveyard to this row. So it's kind of a cool way to get this graveyard interaction with pirates. Also with the Damoon pirates doing that graveyard transfer if you don't have sufficient cards. So I think you get better synergy between those cards. He is a big, girthy unit. This will be good synergy there. On-crate Warcrier, power change from 4 to 3, provision change from 5 to 4. Cool, he just kind of drops down, gets a little bit easier. Could be a good portal target for warrior decks. We'll have to see. Then, Northern Realms, new cards. King Foltest, power 7, provision 12, categories human. The first time a bronze unit on your side of the battlefield is boosted each turn, Spawn a base copy of it at the bottom of your deck. I think we're going to start seeing not just Uprising, but the OG inspiration decks where you're able to just boost a unit every other turn is going to get a little bit more play here. And then if it's Devotion also boosts the spawn copy by 1. They said their idea here was for this to always proc for not just blue stripes being good value here, but for Dun Banner, and that this boost will actually affect it, whereas Amphibious Assault had not. We'll see. But could be really cool card synergy there with both blue stripes and Dun Banner, just getting you lots of extra procs there. New card, Queen Meve. I'm more excited for her. Power 7, Armor 2, Provision 10, category Human, Inspired. At the end of your turn, lower the counter by 1. So she does have to be inspired in order to get this counter down. But the counter is 3. When the counter reaches 0, boost all allied units by 1. Crazy good value there. I think especially if you could get like her in with a blue stripe deck would be a really cool idea here. Cadwini Sergeant getting formation is fine. He needs a little extra love. He's the one that comes with 2 charges. You can feed him more charges, but each of those charges boosts a unit by 1. So kind of like a cheap Visigodo. And if you're doing a charge deck, you could work out there. Then Provision, Smokeout, change from 5 to 4 provisions, a little bit more accessible. You just have to have a boosted unit for the volunteers to get boosted by 1 each. Otherwise, it still plays 4 for 4. And you do get 2 units out of it. So I think it's good, helpful change. Smoke Them Out was kind of the least used of all Warfare cards, except for maybe Winch. But, good change here. Then Lyrian Scytheman, power change from 3 to 4. Ability is now limited to boosted units on this row. I think this is a welcome change. Plays much more into Yurden or Igni, so I kind of like that. Anything that makes Geralt cool, I'm a fan of, right? Geralt should be the card to rule all other cards in the game, with the exception of Ciri, in my opinion. New card, Hoog. Power 6, Provision 11, category Dwarf. Deploy, gain 1 armor for every Dwarf in your hand. So he likes to play early. Then Barricade 1, at the end of your turn, boost all Dwarves with armor on this row by 1. He would play well with Zoltan. And then if you played, like you had Zoltan carry over from the prior round, you could then play Zoltan's Company, which will spawn those 3 rowdy dwarves, give armor to all units on that row. Then you play down Hoog, and then as long as he maintains this barricade, he's going to just boost up units on the row with armor every turn by 1. So you can get some crazy good synergy there. Zoltan and Zoltan's Company now looking quite a bit better. Dwarves needed some love, and I think Hoog gives them that little bit of help they needed. If you watched any of my recent Dwarf decks, you know that Zoltan and the other expensive Dwarves are mediocre finishers at best, and this is a much better engine value for the card, so cool. And good synergy too with Mahakam Defenders, with Yarpen Zigrin, though Yarpen does convert that armor, so you just need to place him after Hoog. But just keep feeding armor to Yarpen, and he'll get boosted and strip off the armor. So cool value there. We'll just watch to make sure that works correctly. Then new card. This is what I'm most excited for. Out of all the stuff, Scoia'tael Traps was like my very first deck. And I'm super pumped for this. So, Eldane, power 6, provision 10, category elf. Deploy, transform all your face-up traps into elven deadeyes. Devotion, also transform your other artifacts. So you could play Scenario and a bunch of traps, then play Eldane, then play Varnwaziel and Isengrim, and you would get crazy good value. The Devotion is necessary there, so you can't really play the Rodeo with them as much, and that's okay. Dwarven Chariot, remove bonded ability and replace with order, give an allied unit 1 armor, cooldown 1. This should be armor, not abhorred, as much as we do love it. So you're only getting 1 of these rowdy dwarves, so no longer a good synergy with Zoltan in my opinion, but cool idea to give this 1 armor. But just kind of ignoring that, to be honest. But Dwarven Chariot should have its own line. This is just kind of like copy and pasted from Word, I think. Ibir Hattori, power change from 3 to 2, provision change from 6 to 9, ability change to deploy, create and play a trap card from your starting deck. This can be golds So I think the natural fit here. A lot of people talking about the cool changes to Serpent and Pitfall traps. Sure, cool, fine, don't care. I would just want to play Mahakam Horn with this. Crazy good value out of Mahakam Horn and Elven Scouts. So just wait for that. Serpent Trap, though, the spring is pretty cool here. Destroy the unit with the lowest power, and you can trigger springs immediately. So this is basically now going to be huge card nerk in a long round with the basic ability with whenever the opponent plays a special card. But if you know that you're playing an opponent with very few special cards, think Skellige Warriors that have already played Blood Eagle, then this is going to be a really good way to just play as basically Imperial Manticore for monsters and being able to destroy whatever the opponent puts out first. Pitfall Trap also added spring, randomly split 6 damage between all enemy units. It's going to kind of work like Delirium. I had originally, in a comment with someone said there's Giga Scorpion, but Delirium is a better analog here as it would split between a row. This would be between all units, so also would work well like Serpent Trap if you play it first thing in response to a powerful card. I think specifically for anti-Nilfgaard synergy here against Hefty Helga. But Saskia getting Harmony, long overdue. She's kind of one of the worst 12 provision cards in the game. You could never get her value back. But Harmony actually gives that to you. And she's Dragon, so you kind of get an extra Harmony proc there without needing her Dragon forms, Synthesis. So pretty cool. Nilfgaard got that huge lockdown nerf, major nerf there. But now we've got Anna Henrietta, who's way better. Just, you know, a bunch of people saying that Damien's now on suicide watch. I still think Damien's going to be cool. Damien and Anna Henrietta could be bonkers. So here, new card, Anna Henrietta, Power 3, Provision 9, Category Human Aristocrat, deploy, replace your leader ability with a base copy of your opponent's leader ability. The one I want to see played most here for lore reasons, for fun synergy, is Uprising. Imagine if you had Anna Henrietta and Damien de la Tour against an Uprising deck. You could reuse it twice. Play 2 Lyrian Scythemen, even with the nerf, they come out of base power 4, boost all units on a row. You're going to be protecting that melee row for Damien anyway. Crazy, 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 crazy good value. She's only provision 9. Who cares what her power is? And you're getting it on deploy. So this is like Louisa had roids, got high, and then wandered over, gave Anna Henrietta all of her best advice, and conferred on her all of her immortal powers. Just crazy good value. We're going to see her played in a ton of decks. New card, Amir van Emreis. It'll be interesting to see her also against like lockdown mirrors, because I do think lockdown's still going to get played. But anyway, Amir van Emreis, power 7. Provision 11, category Human Aristocrat. Cool to see an Aristocrat proc for ball here. Deploy, draw a card, then move a card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. Whenever your opponent plays a unit, give it Spying. Crazy! This is going to work really well with the Seditious Aristocrats, just getting tons of Spying procs here. Then at the end of your turn, seize the random 1-power Spying unit. You do need this Devotion to get that seizure of those 1-power spy units. Can anybody say clog your own side of the board? But maybe Yen, Bone Talisman could be really cool for that. I think Brothen's just to get tons and tons of units on your side of the board really quickly. And then I think he's going to play really well in what I'm anticipating will be new Spying rework soon. But also, he's going to play really well in Assimilate decks right away. Lockdown provision change from 10 to 13. This is probably the biggest thing a lot of people are talking about. Ability change to Order. Disable opponent's leader ability for the duration of this round. If your opponent leader has no charges left or is on cooldown, spawn 2 operatives on your melee row instead. So you do need to wait for it to be off cooldown. Developer comment. With this, its ability to completely remove a dimension of the game, Lockdown was a problematic ability. While it could serve as a meta control like we saw against V after 8.0 patch, it could also be abused more widely like in the previous meta and would easily oppress off-meta fun decks, something players have complained about since way before it became a meta pick. Agreed. I think that SlamUp put it best for those of you who will miss Lockdown. it was just a lazy way for the devs to constrain out of control meta issues. So I hope that they'll be a little bit more responsive to feedback, though. I think this hack has set everything back, but Viper Witcher Mentors as a really good example. We're going to see them reverted here down below, but they got buffed, and that should have been fixed within the hour. No reason for that to have gone through. Just was clearly not play tested, and there's been rumblings, inside sources, etc., that we didn't mean for that to happen. We'll fix it then. That's my response. As somebody who pays good money for this game on a regular, recurring basis, that's an easy fix. Still, Lockdown offered a unique control tool for Nilfgaard, and I do agree it should still exist. It's something, I said this on stream before, it's something that you should encounter 1% of the time that influences all of your deck brewing decisions. You should always have kind of in the back of your mind, like, well, if I run into a Lockdown deck, I still need to get a win, so I will include this ability. You can also say, you know what, RNG be damned. I'm not. The likelihood of me running into a Lockdown deck is so low. I'm just going to accept that as a loss and instead build an uber greedy deck. And that's a decision that you could make that should be within those bounds. And like I said, about a 1% chance of running into a Lockdown deck, not a 15, not a 30, not a 50% chance. Or as I had at the very beginning of this season, about a 67% chance of running into Lockdown. Viper Witcher Mentor Adrenaline changed from 3 to 2. Colgrim changed from 2 to 1. Good Adrenaline changes. I don't necessarily think that Colgrim was necessary, but this does kind of nerf the Letho Kingslayer play with him. Although I do think like Letho Kingslayer is up there with Ciri and Geralt as should be one of the best cards in the game, lore-wise. False Ciri added Aristocrat category. This is a really good change. Power change from 5 to 4. Provision change from 7 to 6. Ability change to boost all allied agents by 1. This is not in hand and in deck, so it's not quite like Tamara Stringer or Vesemir Mentor, but it is on the board. So you can get a ton of allied agents boosted that way. It's going to have really good synergy with Usurper, which is a little bit weird, but also with Amir, because those agents are going across. He's pulling them back with Devotion. You're going to boost them all up with False Ciri. Cadaverine changed from 7 to 9, changed to a special category tactic, and now poison an enemy unit, then spawn a base copy of it on the opposite row. Super cool. I did like the old Cadaverine, but I do think this is a better way to get around these no-unit decks that were super gross. Syndicate. The devs, I do want to preface this with saying the devs felt like they were giving a ton of boosts and value to Syndicate. I don't share their opinion, but it'll be interesting to see how these play. Cleaver, Power 1, Armor 2, Provision 11, Category, Dwarf Crown Splitters. He has Intimidate, Deploy, Spawn and Play Shakedown. Shakedown is the gain 3 coins, get boost. It's been changed a little bit. We're going to see that down below. Increase this card's Intimidate by 1 for every adjacent Crown Splitter. Fee 4, Spawn Cleaver's Muscle on this row. So the fee means you can pay for it over and over again. The Intimidate engine is what you really want out of him, and playing him on melee row so that you can... I guess you could play Cleaver's Muscles come anywhere, but Novigradian Justice will still send them to melee. So, and if you can get him between Cleaver's Muscle, they have Shield, they're 5 points, hard to remove. You're going to get a lot of value out of him. He still just has 1 power though, so I wish they would have given him like some kind of fee instead of spawning Cleaver's Muscle to get immunity. I would have liked that more. Then he would have been like a better synergy with Erland as an example. Oh well. New card, Horson Jr., Provision 5, Power 5, Provision 10, Human Cut-Ups, Utterly Graphic and Gory and Disturbing Art. Deploy, damage boosted enemy unit by 6, gain a coin for every excess of damage dealt. So it is Deploy, and then Devotion, also gain Insanity, fee 3, destroy an enemy unit with 3 or less, and then he has 5 power, so you can do it once. And then you can just keep paying this 3 fee to kill units instantly. Good way to get around armor. So Professor is now meaningless with Horson Jr. I'm excited to see him in some bounty decks. Lined Pockets. Charges change from 5 to 6. Shakedown provision change from 5 to 4. So some good general boost here. Tax Collector. This is huge. Provision change from 5 to 4. You finally have like a really cool portal target. And then you have Townsfolk at 6 provisions, and you have Bincy at 10. Really cool way. I'm excited to play that deck. Horton's Freak Show. If you've watched my bounty decks, you know that I like the Witch Hunter versions of them a lot more because you get the 1 damage procs in 1 coin increments. They just have to have the bounty on them, so it's not bleed. But if you're doing a bounty deck, that's easy to get anyway. Freak Show runs best in a bounty deck, even though they're cut-ups. So it's kind of like a weird, needs to figure out what it wants in life card. Sigismund provision changed from 12 to 11. Fine. But Leviticus Brunenbaum, coins generated through ability 6 to 9, tribute changed from 4 to 5. So you can now go from 0 to 9 coins instantly. I'm excited to play him in this coin deck that I've been talking about using Tax Collectors, Bency Blown Revolt, and Townsfolk, and then get some cool spenders. Igor the Hook, provision change from 10 to 9. Super cool, super fun card. Eateron combos are insanely fun with him. And will be even cooler now that we get Tax Collector. Coerced Blacksmith, profit change from 1 to 2. You get a little bit more boost value out of him. He boosts units by 1, feed 1. Octon First Naturalist, trash card, still not cool, just gives vitality. Tunnel Drill, feed change from 3 to 2. A little bit better, trashy card. You could get some cool synergy here with Cleaver since it's Crown Splitter, and you want Crown Splitters on each side of it, so you could go like Cleaver's Muscle, Tunnel Drill, Cleaver's Muscle, Cleaver's Muscle, and that could get you some cool constant damage value. And you could use some of these other like shakedown cards and stuff like that to get more value. And then there's also the other cards that get you coins that are increased by your good friends there, Crown Splitters. Rico Meyersdorf, though, I think is the real clutch player. Remember, he's Nilfgaard crossover, so this is a big deal for both Nilfgaard and Scoia'tael and for Syndicate. Now set its power to the current power of the played card instead of the base power. Awesome counter against Amphibious Assault to just get yourself like a 9-point card off the bat. So anything that plays out with pre-boosted value, etc., or like Protoflater that does damage or boosts himself by the amount of bleed on that card, he's just going to equal that because it is its current power. Okay, keep that in mind. And then or like it's a fat Colgrim. Since his adrenaline's 1 now, Rico's good counter for that as well. Anyway, I think Rico's going to get a lot more play. Already a fantastic V counter, by the way. Dip in the Pontar, provision change from 5 to 4. This is really good. The 3 damage, 3 coins was kind of like a worst of both worlds. Now mediocre. Stolen Mutagens, Salamander condition change from 3 to 2 is major. Portal's now looking good. It's much easier to get this with Ozar. Cool all around. Bigger. Regular profit change from 2 to 3. Bonded profit change from 4 to 5. Cool. About time that they got some love for a bonded character. Blind Eye Apothecary, tribute change from 3 to 2. Still a mediocre card. Probably not going to see play. Then Roland Blenheim and Gellert Blenheim got fixed. They sucked before. This quirky adrenaline effect, exchange the 2 brothers, allows us to raise their power level on the one hand. Roland becomes a better engine overall, not limited anymore by its adrenaline. On the other hand, Gellert benefits from a grace period where his ability is unlimited. So, look, these are the ones that like you give an allied unit bleed, and then they boost an allied unit. You give an allied unit poison, you boost an allied unit whenever it gets poison. So cooler, better synergy with Abomination. I went off on a super long tangent about how much it sucked before, so it's good to see it change. New features, 12 new cards already up above. Game fixes, Overwhelming Hunger, Deck Builder, and Tooltip will now properly display 2 charges instead of 3. I don't know, people were really worked up about this. Blue Stripes Commando now prevents the order getting clicked if the row is full. That was just, don't be stupid. And Griffin Witcher Adept now prevents the order getting clicked if there's no valid target. Also fine, but not a big deal. Then fix a bug where opponents could see the tooltip of a trap that was being tutored or created. So it is what it is. This is a huge important change because traps are on the up and up. The Ibeer Post down below what you think the biggest changes are, what you're most excited for. I think the Anna Henrietta Damien is going to be really cool, but for me, easiest plug and play, super fun to play is going to be Eldane, Vernoziel, Ibir, Eorvith's, and then Eorvith's tactic as well. The name of which is escaping me. Being able to play out those two traps all at once is going to be on the up and up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. Elves are fun again, and they are going to be the control heavy part of the faction as opposed to non-devotion symbiosis. Good change, I think. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Until next time, take this day off, enjoy, get ready to play some fun Gwent, and get ready to get out there and get Gwenting again. Bye for now.